Good morning, Krusty Crew. Hello, everybody. Welcome to stream. What the fuck? There we go. Jesus Christ. Sorry, that was really weird. All right. What's up, guys? Welcome in, welcome in, welcome in. Good morning, everybody. Good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning. Welcome to the Morning Manifesto. My name is Jovan. This is my domain. How are y'all doing today? You doing good? You chilling? You relaxing? Did you have a good day yesterday? I hope you did. We are live here on... I have to reset the TikTok already. I Like, I already have to reset the TikTok. I already got a fucking violation on TikTok. I have to reset, apparently. This shit is fucking nuts, bro. 5 minutes into stream. 5 minutes in. I'll be right back. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. Anyway, good morning, everybody. I hope everybody is doing well today. We are here on all platforms: TikTok, Twitch, YouTube. Eventually, I'm gonna start using Facebook too at this point. How are y'all living? Y'all living okay? I feel like I asked you that before, but here I am asking it to you again. I updated the topics just slightly, specifically to add the Christian God is evil to the topic list, because it's slowly become one of my favorite topics to talk about. Slowly but surely. So we're going to do this thing. Welcome to the Morning Manifesto. Now, the Morning Manifesto is a live show that I do usually every Monday through Friday, unless like extenuating circumstances prevent me from getting on in the morning. Here's the thing. Oh, Alina's here. Let me invite Alina up. Good morning, friend.
Morning. Look who decided to show up for work today.
Yeah, I wasn't here yesterday. I was tired.
I know you weren't here. You didn't tell me anything.
Yeah, because even I didn't know. I
showed
was
up
at
and
my
the door-
computer. I was at my computer, ready to go.
The door was locked. I was outside waiting to be let in by the opener.
Yeah, I was chilling, and then I was like, you know what? I'm tired. Just really quick, so everybody knows, the Morning Manifesto is a live show done by me some mornings. Should be every Monday through Friday, but you know, sometimes I take a break. If you want to support the show, there's a couple of ways to do this, okay? The show can be supported either, now hear me out here. You can support us by liking the lives. You can support us by sharing the lives. You can support us here by sending a gift if you're on TikTok. What else you could do is you can send a tip. You know, my Cash App and Venmo are on screens. Tips are always appreciated but never required. And the tips go to maintaining the stream. It's how we keep the stream running. It's how I keep you guys entertained in the mornings. If you're on your drive to work, I hope you're paying attention to the road. You know. What's today? Oh, yeah, today is... Wait, is that today? No, the 20th is the day the Orange Menace becomes in charge again. It's not the 20th yet. We're good. We are good on that front, everybody, okay? Do not worry. Okay. There's a couple ways you can chat with us if you want to chat with us today. We have multiple topics on the board. You can send a guest request on TikTok. If you send a guest request on TikTok, you'll be able to chat with us. You can also call into the call-in line. The call-in line is available on YouTube. You can call into the call-in line. Those are the two ways you can chat with us today. Okay. Does that sound good, chat? What's that book about communism again? Which one? There's so many. You gotta be more specific, friend. Javon's been pioneering YouTube for the rest of us. Truly. Truly. I'm a debate talk pioneer, bro. Pay to Kicks, that was me. I started that. Pioneer.
I've been doing pay to kick for a long ass time.
Alina, I started Pay to Kicks. I started Pay to Kicks like 3 years ago.
I've been on debate talk just as long, friend.
Right? I promise you.
Does it mean that?
I promise you I started Pay to Kicks.
Fine. I'll go into the archives.
Go ahead. I promise it was started by me. The YouTube stuff, I pioneered that bitch. Now everybody's trying to move over to YouTube and Twitch. Twitch? That's all me, baby. Just kidding. I didn't pioneer Twitch. Someone's already calling in, huh? Hello, are you here to debate? Hello? Hello? Okay. That number looked really weird.
Oh, are we gonna call that number back?
Oh, the guy who called us slurs last time? I don't remember which. Oh, well, I guess if I just look at the numbers that I called, it would be there.
I thought you wrote it down.
No, I didn't write it down. But if I just look at like my outgoing calls, that should show me. Because it would be an out. God, I get so many calls though that like trying to find it is like a needle in a fucking haystack.
That's why I said make a note. I told you make a note.
I didn't though.
Why don't you listen to me? What am I here for if you're not gonna listen to me?
I'm sorry, what did you say? I wasn't listening. Come on, that was funny. That was funny. That was funny. Alina, you can't be mad. It was funny. It was a good joke. It was a good joke. I'm standing behind that joke. 100% standing behind that joke. Alina, come back. I'm standing behind the joke, though. It's a good joke. Doubling down is crazy. I didn't double down. I tripled down. KFC's triple down, baby. What? Yeah. Introducing the KFC Cheesy Zinger Triple Down. Alina, come back. Javon in his dad joke era. Do we consider that a dad joke? I don't know that I consider that a dad joke. Alina, don't deny the invite. Alina, stop. Stop. I'm just going to keep inviting you. Stop. Okay, I'm sorry. Don't think I was there. I feel like I was forced.
I'll drop it. I'll turn this car around and get back on the heated blanket.
I apologize.
Yeah. Now you owe me a huge favor.
What's the favor?
Help me get my shit set up.
Your what? Wait, what are you trying to set up?
My streaming stuff. I already have it pretty much set up. I just need the little tweaks.
Oh, for like the post TikTok world.
Yeah.
Did you join Red Note? I
No,
didn't.
fuck.
I can't be bothered.
I'm not trying to learn a new language, friend. Like, no.
I can't. It's just too much. It's too many things. It's too many things. I can't have that many apps anymore. Maybe if TikTok fully goes away in 9 days in what 4 days, maybe then.
Also, we can't monetize it. So, like, why would I spend so much time and effort? Like, I don't have that much free time. Like, I have a full-time job.
Mm-hmm. Am I going to Neptune? I don't even know what Neptune is. What is Neptune? I don't know what. It's too many apps. If does Neptune pay you?
It's not even an app yet.
Oh well then.
They haven't even launched their beta.
Then what do y'all expect me to do here?
Make the app happen.
I'm mostly going to be focusing on my YouTube if TikTok goes away, guys. I'm going to be so for real. Mr. Beast said he might buy TikTok. TikTok isn't going to sell. I think you guys forget that the United States is not their biggest market. They are not going to sell the servers to anybody. It just wouldn't make sense. It doesn't make sense financially. It doesn't make sense what's the other word? Politically. You know, it doesn't make sense for China to sell any of its assets to a United States based person. It just doesn't make sense. At least in my humblest of opinions. Here's my issue. Is they're like, well, we're worried about security because no, you're not. You're not worried about security. You don't give a shit about security. Temu steals our data more than TikTok, and I ain't done shit about Temu.
Yeah.
It's not about security. It's about they're tired of. It's about the fact that TikTok has been able and effective in organizing against the U.S. government, so they don't like this. It is literally a free speech issue. And the Supreme Court's going to hear it, is making their decisions today, right? The decisions dropped today.
Yeah.
And when the Supreme Court backs the U.S. government in this, I'm telling you right now, I want you all to be aware that this right here, in my humblest of opinion, is the largest free speech suppression in U.S. history, in my opinion. Full stop. Don't do TikTok. We got paid in Washington State for the TikTok lawsuit. Read the fine print. It reads the phone and takes information from the app. Every app does that. TikTok is not doing anything that every other app doesn't do. Just FYI. They all do that. All of them. Every app you own is taking your data. Every app you own is selling your data back to the highest bidder. Every app you own is setting up a backdoor to your cell phone. This is why I say to people, like, if you're going to do like community organizing, don't do it on your main phone. Get a fucking burner phone, bro.
It's cute when people think that the social media is the product.
Mm-hmm. Oh, true. APAC also had a hand in this. Yeah, it's just so ridiculous. And you need to, like, if you guys didn't listen to some of the arguments that were made against TikTok by the US government, it is so thinly veiled. There's no way Elon isn't selling data to Russia. Everyone's selling your data, bro. Your data's not yours. Have you ever downloaded your Google information? Google saves all of your if you have an Android phone and you have ever done a voice memo of any kind, Google has it saved. That's kind of weird. And you can't escape these things too, because they're all owned by like the same three companies. So we could say there's an issue with like, there's definitely an issue in big tech. There's definitely an issue in big tech with monopolization of our online markets. Cause like I'm a Twitch partner, right? So I make the bulk, I do the bulk of my stuff on Twitch. Twitch is owned by Amazon. So I can't escape Bezos even if I wanted to. Google owns YouTube. How many companies does Google own, actually? I'm going to look this up. How many companies does Google own? Google owns 262 companies. They own YouTube. They own Waze. They own DoubleClick, Nest, Looker, Fitbit, Mandiant. Like, they own so much. They save the recording when you do talk to text. Yes. Those recordings are saved. All of them. Every single one. Why? Because Google is the devil. The absolute devil. Anyway. At this point, I just don't see why we don't, like, who cares? Like, at that point, like, take whatever you want. Take whatever data you want from me. I don't give a fuck. I don't care. What are you really doing? Selling shit back to me? Whatever. Take all my data. I don't care anymore. Let me look at funny videos on the internet. It's a trade-off I'm willing to take. Hi, Katie.
Hi.
Damn, everybody is quiet. The oppositions are quiet today. There's people in the guest request, but I don't know if they're ops or not. I'll bring up the people in the TikTok guest request. If you're not an op, I am going to probably instantly send you back down to the void. So let's find out. Yeah, you get one chance, one opportunity. Will you capture it or let it slip? His palms are sweaty, knees weak. Hi, Heather. Are you an op?
Sorry.
Heather, hello.
Oh, I didn't realize I requested.
Oh, you're good. No problem. We'll send you back.
Sorry, bye.
Did you read the Jack Smith report? Is there a new one? Oh, there is a new one. Oh, fuck. Oh, God. Here we go. Can't wait. Okay. I'm sorry. Where the fuck is the report? CNN. If I click on a highlighted thing that says the report, it shouldn't take me to another CNN website. It should take me to the report. I don't want to read the report on CNN. I want to read the report off of CNN. Is that so much to ask? Here it is. Final report of the special counsel under 28 CFR. Here, let me pull it up over here so we can pull it up on screen. Oh, this is gonna be fun. It's probably a lot of it's gonna be what it was previously, but let's take a look. Dear Mr. Attorney General, let's see. In the fall of 2022, former President Donald J. Trump was the subject of 2 separate criminal investigations by the Department of Justice. The first was an investigation into whether any person violated the law in connection with efforts to interfere with the lawful transfer of power following the 2020 presidential election. The second investigation focused on the possession of highly classified documents at Mr. Trump's Mar-a-Lago social club following his presidency. November 15, 2022, Mr. Trump declared his candidacy to unseat President Joseph R. Biden Jr., who had previously stated his intention to stand for re-election. Mr. Trump's announcement created a highly unusual situation in which the department, an agency within the executive branch headed by President Biden, was conducting criminal investigations regarding his newly declared challenger. Based on a longstanding recognition that, in certain extraordinary cases, it is in the public interest to appoint a special prosecutor to independently manage an investigation and prosecution. You, as the Attorney General, promptly did so here to underscore the department's commitment to both independence and accountability in particularly sensitive matters. Attorney General Merrick B. Garland remarks on the appointment of a special counsel, Washington, D.C., November 18, 2022. On the day that I was appointed, I pledged that I would exercise independent judgment, follow the best traditions of the Department of Justice, and conduct my work expeditiously and thoroughly. I will say it has been fairly, it only took 2 years, well, almost 3 to get to where we are with all the information. And that, or not redo the investigation, but redo the indictment. Upon my appointment, I organized a staff of experienced career federal prosecutors, and together we conducted the investigation and subsequent prosecutions under our mandate, consistent with the department's traditions of integrity and nonpartisanship that have guided all of us throughout our careers. Attorney General Edward H. Levi, who assumed the department's helm in the wake of Watergate, summed up these. I don't care about any of this. Can we just get to the meat and
potatoes.
good stuff? Yeah, the meat and potatoes. Here we go. The actual report, not his like, hey, what's up? I'm Jack Smith. Here's my take. Okay, Volume 1, the election case. So let's take a look, chat. On November 18, 2022, the Attorney General appointed the special counsel to oversee an ongoing investigation into whether any person or entity violated the law in connection with efforts to interfere with the lawful transfer of power following the 2020 presidential election or the certification of the Electoral College vote held on or about January 6, 2021. As a result of that investigation, on August 1st, 2023, a federal grand jury... Huh?
You start with that.
Restart with that?
I said, don't you start with that. The yawning.
Oh. That's just because I'm reading.
Oh, okay.
As a result of that investigation on August 1st, 2023, a federal grand jury in the District of Columbia charged Donald J. Trump with 4 felony offenses arising from his efforts to unlawfully retain power by using fraud and deceit to overturn the 2020 election results. After the Supreme Court held last summer that Mr. Trump was immune from prosecution for certain misuse of official power alleged in the indictment, a second grand jury found probable cause to return a superseding indictment charging the same offenses based on his non-immunized conduct. Mr. Trump was thereafter reelected as president of the United States, and as a result, on November 25th, 2024, the special counsel moved to dismiss the case against Mr. Trump because of the Department of Justice's longstanding position that the Constitution forbids the federal indictment and prosecution of a sitting president. This volume focuses on the election case against Mr. Trump and, consistent with the applicable regulations, provides an explanation of the prosecution decision reached by the special counsel. I hate this shit. I hate this so much, dude.
Mm-hmm.
I hate it so much. Oh, he got reelected, so I guess the election fraud doesn't matter. I guess the overthrow of the government doesn't fucking matter. Because why? Because God for fucking bid, we give a shit about actually following the rules that we wrote. As long as you get reelected, you can do whatever overthrow of the government you want. Doesn't fucking matter.
This is like failing to unalive someone and then them being like, it's okay because they unalived later anyway.
Let's look at the results of the investigation. Why? Who fucking cares at this point, but whatever. In 2020, then President Donald J. Trump ran for re-election against Joseph R. Biden Jr. Mr. Trump lost. As alleged in the original and superseding indictment, substantial evidence demonstrates that Mr. Trump then engaged in an unprecedented criminal effort to overturn the legitimate results of the election in order to retain power. Although he did so primarily in his private capacity as a candidate and with the assistance of multiple private co-conspirators, Mr. Trump also attempted to use the power and authority of the United States government in furtherance of his scheme. As set forth in the original and superseding indictments, when it became clear that Mr. Trump had lost the election and that lawful means of challenging the election results had failed, he resorted to a series of criminal efforts to retain power. This included attempts to induce state. By the way, these have sources for everything. So if you're like, oh, this isn't true, just fucking read it and look at the source. I don't have time for your nonsense. This included attempts to induce state officials to ignore true vote counts, to manufacture fraudulent slates of presidential electors in 7 states that he had lost, to force Justice Department officials and his own vice president, Michael R. Pence, to act in contravention of their oaths and to instead advance Mr. Trump's personal interests, and on January 6, 2021, to direct an angry mob to the United States Capitol to obstruct the congressional certification of the presidential election, and then leverage rioters' violence to further delay it. In service of these efforts, Mr. Trump worked with other people to achieve a common plan to overturn the election results and perpetuate himself in office. These individuals included co-conspirator 1, a private attorney who was willing to spread knowingly false claims and pursue strategies that Mr. Trump's campaign attorneys would not. This is Rudy Giuliani, by the way. They don't name the co-conspirators, but this is very clearly Rudy Giuliani. It's a private attorney who was spreading campaign misinformation. This was Rudy Giuliani. Co-conspirator 2, a private attorney who devised and attempted to implement a strategy to leverage vice president's ministerial role in the certification proceeding to obstruct the certification. I don't remember who co-conspirator 2 is. Co-conspirator 3, a private attorney whose unfounded claims of election fraud Mr. Trump privately acknowledged were crazy, but which he embraced and publicly amplified nonetheless. Actually, co-conspirator 3 might be Rudy Giuliani. They're all fucking co-conspirator 4. Jesus Christ. Okay, we'll continue this after this call. Hello, are you here to debate?
No, I'm calling from the UK. I just have a question.
Okay, does it pertain to the topics on the board?
Let me have a see. No, not exactly. I'm just a long time listener, and I wanted to get your opinion on something.
Okay. What's your name, age, and pronouns?
My name is Becker. I go by they, them, and I'm 21.
Okay. What was your question?
The general consensus within people, and I'm not very well educated on the matter. I get most of my information from you and your links. The general consensus supporting Trump within the UK is his. Excuse me for a second. His relationship, his history with Putin specifically. Those people who are worried about the elevation of conflict. I was just wondering what your personal take is on that.
On just Trump's relationship with Putin, I think Trump folds to Putin like every time. I think Trump is too afraid to like push Putin on anything, so he just folds to whatever Putin wants.
Do you think that increases the chance of potential international conflict, or decreases it, or?
I would say we're it would probably decrease it because Trump would just fold over to what Putin wants. So Putin would have no need to like start a conflict.
Do you not think there will be a conflict of interest because he's already pledged to continue aid for Ukraine?
Say that again?
Do you not think there's a potential conflict of interest because he's already pledged to continue to aid Ukraine?
Well, he's privately pledged that. In public, he's been very less. He's been very less than willing to say what his goals are here, except that he wants to end the war. But like, I don't see what he thinks is going to happen, because he said that Zelensky said, if I'm remembering, that Trump promised to continue backing him, but also said that Trump said he wants to end the war via negotiations. But Zelensky said he's not negotiating with Russia. So I don't know
Right,
what Trump. I
okay.
don't know what Trump's plans are in this regard. It just sounds like, I mean, it mostly sounds like he doesn't understand geopolitical relations, and he's just gonna fumble the bag.
Yeah, well, I mean, as a non-US citizen, that is my main concern, him escalating things further. But that's pretty much it. Thank you for your time.
Yeah, no problem. All right. Back to the report. Just because I do think it's important to like go over the report. What were we on? We're on co-conspirator 4. So we're going over Trump's co-conspirators. Unless we want to bring up one of the people in the TikTok requests. I don't know if they disagree or not.
I mean, I think we should just plow through this report.
Okay. Yeah, then let me mute the calls until we're done with the report. Or at least done with the election interference section. Co-conspirator 4, a Justice Department official who worked on civil matters and who, with Mr. Trump, attempted to use the Justice Department to open sham election crime investigations and influence state legislatures with knowingly false claims of election fraud. Co-conspirator 5, a private attorney who assisted in devising and attempting to implement a plan to submit fraudulent slates of presidential electors to obstruct the certification proceeding. And co-conspirator 6, a private political consultant who helped implement a plan to submit fraudulent slates of presidential electors to obstruct the certification proceedings. So Trump had 6 co-conspirators in this, by the way. 6. The through line of all of Mr. Trump's criminal efforts was deceit, knowingly false claims of election fraud, and the evidence shows that Mr. Trump used these lies as a weapon to defeat a federal government function foundational to the United States democratic process. Mr. Trump's false claims included dozens of specific claims regarding certain states, such as that large numbers of dead, non-resident, non-citizen, or otherwise ineligible voters had cast ballots, or that voting machines had changed votes for Mr. Trump's to votes against him. These claims were demonstrably, and in many cases, obviously false. The office investigated whether Mr. Trump believed the claims he made. Evidence from a variety of sources established that Mr. Trump knew that there was no outcome determinative fraud in the 2020 election, that many of the specific claims he made were untrue, and that he had lost the election. He knew this because some of the highest ranking officials in his own administration, including the vice president, told him directly that there was no evidence to support his claims. Mr. Trump's private advisors, both within and outside of his campaign, told him the same. On November 13th, his own campaign conceded its litigation in Arizona, a state pivotal to his reelection prospects. State officials and legislators whom Mr. Trump pressured to change vote tallies or stop certifications of results rebuffed him and informed him that his fraud claims were wrong, both privately and through public statements. Mr. Trump also monitored legal developments regarding the election and was on notice that state and federal courts rejected every post-election lawsuit that Mr. Trump and his allies filed claiming outcome determinative election fraud. By the way, most of those judges were Trump appointed. Just so we're all aware. Mr. Trump and co-conspirators could not have believed the specific fraud claims that they were making because the numbers they touted, for instance, of dead voters in a particular state, frequently vacillated. Is that word? Frequently vacillated. That's never heard that word before. Frequently vacillated widely from what is that word? I'm looking it up. Hold on.
I think it means like very like fluctuating. Maybe?
Yeah, alternate or waver between different opinions or actions. Be indecisive. How do you pronounce that?
Vacillate.
Okay, so it's vacillated. Okay.
Didn't
I don't like that. That doesn't sound ill. It sounds like venereal disease.
I mean, I also don't like the way she said it.
Vacillate. Frequently vacillated widely from day to day or were objectively impossible, including, for example, co-conspirator 3's claims about voting machines that Mr. Trump, co-conspirator 3 is definitely really Rudy Giuliani if it's about the voting machines, that Mr. Trump privately acknowledged sounded crazy before he publicly amplified them. Finally, at times, Mr. Trump made comments implicitly acknowledging that he knew he had lost the election. For example, in a January 3, 2021 Oval Office meeting regarding a national security matter, Mr. Trump stated in part, "It's too late for us. We're going to give that to the next guy," meaning President-elect Biden. Mr. Trump aimed his deceit at the United States process of collecting, counting, and certifying votes, which flows from the Constitution and a federal law enacted in 1887 called the Electoral Count Act. The Constitution provides that the United States president is selected through the votes of individuals called electors, and that each state determines how to appoint its electors. Through state laws, all 50 states and the District of Columbia have chosen to select electors based on the popular vote. Therefore, after Election Day, pursuant to the ECA, each state formally determines or ascertains its electors based on the popular vote. The ascertained electors meet on a day determined by the ECA and cast their votes based on their state's popular vote. And the ascertained electors mail their electoral votes along with a certification from the state executive that they are the state's legitimate electors to the United States Congress to be counted and certified in an official proceeding. The Constitution and ECA provides that on 6th of January, following Election Day, the Congress meets for that certification proceeding, which is presided over by the Vice President as President of the Senate. The legitimate electors' votes are opened and counted, and the winner is certified. Until Mr. Trump obstructed it, this democratic process had operated in a peaceful and orderly manner for more than 130 years. So are we sort of understanding the timelines and the histories of this, guys? I want to make sure we're all sort of in the understanding of this, because this is about to start getting very, I won't say annoying, but it's about to start getting very government overthrowy here in a second. Okay. A. Mr. Trump's pressure on state officials. One of Mr. Trump's efforts to change the results of the election involved targeting the electoral process at the state level through politically aligned state officials. Mr. Trump contacted state legislatures and executives, pressured them with false claims of election fraud in their states, and urged them to take action to ignore the vote counts and change the results. Significantly, he made election claims only to state legislatures and executives who shared his political affiliation and were his political supporters, and only in states that he had lost. For instance, Mr. Trump and co-conspirator 1 called the Speaker of the Arizona House of Representatives on November 22nd and used false fraud claims to try to convince the Speaker to call the state legislature into session and replace Arizona's legitimate electors with Mr. Trump's illegitimate ones. Co-conspirator 1 tried to coerce the Arizona Speaker, including by telling him, "We're all kind of Republicans, and we need to be working together." The Arizona Speaker refused to do what was asked and requested that co-conspirator 1 provide... Oops, sorry, hold on, guys. Sorry, I accidentally turned that off. Co-conspirator 1 not only... Speaker refused to do what was asked and requested that co-conspirator 1 provide evidence to support his fraud claims. Co-conspirator 1 not only failed to ever provide such evidence, but he conceded to the Arizona Speaker at an in-person meeting a week later that we don't have the evidence, but we have lots of theories. Despite this lack of fraud evidence, Mr. Trump and others continue to pressure the Arizona Speaker to overturn the election results. So they had no evidence. CC1 is Rudy. I really would think with the Dominion stuff that it would be Rudy would be 3. Okay, so co-conspirator 1 is Rudy Giuliani, 2 is John Eastman, 3 is Sidney Powell. Of course it fucking is. 4 is Jeffrey Clark, 5 is Kenneth Chesborough. And we don't know 6. We don't know who 6 is. Okay, so that's the co-conspirators. Mr. Trump similarly leaned on other state officials, always those of the same political party. On January 2nd, 2021, just days before the election results were to be certified, he called Georgia's Secretary of State and pressed him to find 11,780 votes, Mr. Biden's margin of victory in the state. When the Secretary of State refuted Mr. Trump's false fraud claims, Mr. Trump issued a threat stating that because the Secretary of State knew what they did and you're not reporting it, that's a criminal offense. And you know you can't let that happen. That's a big risk to you. Mr. Trump also pressed state legislatures in Michigan by inviting them to the White House on November 2nd, raising false claims of election fraud, and bringing co-conspirator 1 into the meeting by phone. Michigan's Senate Majority Leader told Mr. Trump that he had lost the election not because of fraud, but because he had underperformed with educated females, an assessment that displeased Mr. Trump. Mr. Trump engaged in these efforts even though trusted state and party officials had told him from the outset that there was no evidence of fraud in the election. In Arizona, Mr. Trump called the governor on November 9, a week after Election Day, and after both Fox News and the Associated Press had projected that Mr. Trump had lost the state. Using a baseball metaphor, the governor told Mr. Trump it was the ninth inning, 2 outs, and he was several runs down. During the call, Mr. Trump raised false claims of election fraud. The governor asked Mr. Trump to send evidence of the alleged fraud, and Mr. Trump suggested he would do so. He never did. In Pennsylvania, just 2 days before the election, the chairman of the state's Republican Party, who had represented Mr. Trump in previous election litigation, refuted Mr. Trump's claim that it was suspicious that his early lead was slipping away. One of the things, I don't know if this is going to get into, but one of the things we have to understand is they knew this was going to happen, that he would have a really early lead and that he would lose that early lead. In fact, Steve Bannon even acknowledged this well before the election. I wonder if I can find the recording of Bannon when Bannon said this. We have it on recording. He literally says, I might not be able to find it immediately, but he literally said what's going to happen is Trump is going to be winning by a very large margin in the beginning. Then at night, when they start counting the mail-in votes, because those are going to heavily lean in favor of Democrats, and they don't count those until later, what's going to happen is that lead is going to slip away. And at this point, because people will have gone to bed seeing Trump in the lead, we can go, oh, well, look, you went to sleep and then some nefarious thing happened. Bannon said that this would happen, as well as I think, was it Stone? Stone might have been, I think it was Roger Stone who might have been the other person that said this was going to happen. That this was sort of how they were going to run these things. So, the chairman explained that there were still roughly 1,750,000 mail-in ballots being counted, which were expected to weigh heavily in Mr. Biden's favor. The reason why, by the way, mail-in ballots leaned heavily towards Democratic votes is because of Trump's consistent spreading of distrust of mail-in ballots. So starting from the beginning of the election, Trump told his people, don't vote by mail. Voting by mail is bad. And he did this so that when this happened, because he knew he was going to lose, when this happened, he could claim, well, see, I told you mail-in ballots were fraudulent. I lost. Even though there's no evidence showing at all that this was the case. In the course of conversations like these, state officials better positioned than Mr. Trump to know the facts in their states repeatedly told Mr. Trump that his fraud claims were unfounded and that there was no evidence of substantial election fraud in their states. And apart from Georgia's Secretary of State, Mr. Trump never contacted other election officials to determine whether there was merit to any specific allegation of election fraud in their states, even though they would have been the best sources to confirm or refute such claims. So, part one of what Donald Trump did is he asked state legislatures to overturn their electors and put in new electors that supported him because there was fraud, but he could at no time, 0 times, he could substantiate where that fraud came from. He couldn't provide evidence. He lost in court. His own judges throughout the cases. He couldn't do it. Part B, Mr. Trump's fraudulent elector plan. As December 14th, the date the ECA required each state's electors to vote and send their certifications of vote to Congress approached, Mr. Trump and co-conspirators launched another plan. Under this plan, they would organize the people who would have served as Mr. Trump's electors had he won the popular vote in 7 states that Mr. Trump had lost: Arizona, Georgia, Michigan, Nevada, New Mexico, Pennsylvania, and Wisconsin, and cause them to sign and send to Washington false certifications claiming to be the legitimate electors. So do you guys know how fucking cracked this is? He took the people, that would have been the state legislature chosen electors had Trump won. He had them all sign fake documents claiming he won and then send those to Washington. Somebody said, what source are you reading from? This is literally the report of the special counsel that was released like what, 4 or 5 days ago? Please. And then this has all the sources in it, as you can see down here. All of the sources and notes. Like, please, you guys need to do your own fucking research on this. I can't. Ultimately, as explained below, Mr. Trump and co-conspirators used the fraudulent certificates to try to obstruct the congressional certification proceeding. The fraudulent electors' plans arc is reflected in a series of memoranda drafted in late November and early December by co-conspirator 5, who initially portrayed it as a contingency to preserve the possibility that Mr. Trump's electors' votes would be counted on January 6th if he prevailed in ongoing election litigation. Remember, co-conspirator 5 is a Kenneth Chesebro. So Kenneth Chesebro is pro-conspirator 5. Where was I? But as described below, the plan quickly transformed into a corrupt strategy to obstruct the certification proceeding and overturn the valid election results. Mr. Trump set the fraudulent elector plan into motion in early December, ensured that it was carried out by co-conspirators and campaign agents in the targeted states, and monitored its progress. On December 6th, for instance, Mr. Trump and co-conspirator 2 called the chairwoman of the Republican National Committee and told her that it was important for the RNC to help organize Mr. Trump's elector nominees in the targeted state. Co-conspirator 2 is Trump's own lawyer, John Eastman. So just by the way, it's his personal lawyer, John Eastman. Was a personal lawyer. He fired most of these people after his stuff failed. So he fired most of these people. Where was I? During the call, co-conspirator 2 told a lie that the co-conspirators would use to induce the cooperation of many of the fraudulent electors, that Mr. Trump's electors' votes would be used only if ongoing litigation in their state proved successful for Mr. Trump. From that point on, Mr. Trump communicated with co-conspirators 1 and 2, John Eastman and Rudy Giuliani, about the plan. And they, in turn, communicated with co-conspirator 5 and 6. 5 is Kenneth Chesebro. We don't know who 6 is. At co-conspirator 1's direction, co-conspirator 5 generated and sent directions to the Trump electors in each targeted state on how best to mimic the manner in which the state required valid electors to gather and vote. And campaign staff and agents helped carry out co-conspirator 5's plans. For the most part, the co-conspirators deceived Mr. Trump's elector nominees in the targeted states by falsely claiming that their electoral votes would be used only if ongoing litigation were resolved in Mr. Trump's favor. Indeed, the co-conspirators deliberately withheld from the elector nominees information showing otherwise. This deception was crucial to the conspiracy, as many who participated as fraudulent electors would not have done so had they known the true extent of the co-conspirators' plans. So essentially what they did is let's say there are 10 electors in Arizona. 10 who vote for Biden had Arizona's popular vote going towards Biden. 10 who vote for Trump had Arizona's popular vote gone towards Trump. They told the 10 for Trump, hey, get together in the exact way you would get together had Trump won the popular vote. Get together, certify an election result, and then send that, and then we will use this election result if the proceedings in court go Trump's way and it's shown there was election fraud. The co-conspirator said, oh, okay, as long as you're not sending it out without that. They sent it out without that. Not all of Mr. Trump's elector nominees were persuaded, forcing the co-conspirators to recruit substitutes in some of the targeted states. For example, one Trump elector nominee in Pennsylvania recognized the plan as illegal in an attempt to overthrow the government, and he declined to participate. Conversely, a select few of Mr. Trump's agents and elector nominees had insight into that ultimate plan to use the fraudulent elector certificates to disrupt the congressional certification on January 6th and willingly assisted. On December 9, after a phone call with co-conspirator 5, one of the campaign's agents wrote in an email that co-conspirator 5's plan for the electors to send in, quote, send in fake electoral votes to Pence, end quote, was, quote, kind of wild / creative, end quote. 2.5 hours later, he replied to his own email and, as a cover, wrote that, quote, alternative votes is probably a better term than fake votes, unquote. And that he agreed with a suggestion, quote, to keep the plan under wraps until Congress counts the vote on January 6th, end quote. In each of the targeted states, Mr. Trump and his co-conspirators successfully organized enough elector nominees and substitutes to gather on December 14, cast fraudulent elector votes on his behalf, and send them to Washington, D.C. for the congressional certification, a fact that the RNC chairwoman relayed to Mr. Trump on the evening of December 14. At the same time that Mr. Trump's elector nominees in the targeted states were preparing to gather and cast fraudulent votes, his co-conspirators were planning to use them to overturn the election results at the January 6th certification. On December 13, co-conspirator 5 sent co-conspirator 1 a memorandum that envisioned a scenario in which the vice president would use the fraudulent slates to claim that there were dueling slates of electors from the targeted states and negotiate a solution for Mr. Trump to seize power. And on December 16, co-conspirator 5 traveled to Washington with a group of private attorneys who had done work for Mr. Trump's campaign in Wisconsin for a meet and greet with Mr. Trump in the Oval Office. As the group left, co-conspirator 5 had a direct private conversation with Mr. Trump. I have to go get water because my fucking, my throat be throating. Would anybody like to read this next paragraph while I'm gone, or do you just want to wait for me to get back?
I can't read that. It's too small.
Okay, so then just give me 2 seconds. Talk about what we've read so far while I go get water, so that way I can continue to read.
I was gonna see if I can read it, but that's way too small.
All right, I'll just be back.
I'm gonna be so for real. I wasn't listening.
I wasn't either. I'm doing it. But I mean, I can fake it till I make it. Fraud, some fake elector fraud.
No one's allowed to be mad at me because I don't take in information when people just read it out to me. So if you're mad at me, you're ableist. Anyway, the thing is, like people saying, y'all, if Jovan gave me this information in like 5 sentences, I would get it. But when I'm being read chunks of information at a time, it's like my brain just switches off.
Yeah. I mean, I will say he does read it in a way that's fun to listen to.
Oh, I think it's great for like a lot of people watching. This is just me.
Oh.
It's like no matter who it is, if you just read me like a whole thing, it just doesn't go in. Do we tell him? He knows. Oh. Here he comes, y'all. No one say anything.
I can hear you. Glad to know nobody's listening to me.
Oh, that's crazy.
Glad to know. It's
That's not. I told you. Look, I genuinely can't process information like that.
okay. Well, I'll read it. Continue to read it for the people on stream who are listening, who are interested in Trump's plan to overthrow the U.S. government. So I'll keep reading for you guys.
I'm sorry. The amount of times that you have been like, "Can someone explain this to me?" What, like, I'm 5 or TLDR, like, you can't even be mad.
I feel like this is pretty much boiled down like this. I think a 4-year-old could understand this.
I can understand it. It's the way in which it's being given to me.
I understand. I'm not blaming you.
Really? The way you said that didn't sound like you
No,
understand.
I'm not blaming you. I'm blaming your autism.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Days later, on December 19th, Mr. Trump publicly posted a tweet demonstrating his own focus on the certification proceeding and directing his supporters to gather in Washington, D.C. to oppose it. At 1:42 a.m., he posted a copy of a report falsely alleging outcome determinative election fraud and wrote, quote, "Statistically impossible to have lost the 2020 election. Big protest in D.C. on January 6th. Be there, will be wild," end quote. That same day, co-conspirator 5 notified another attendee of the December 16 Oval Office meeting of Mr. Trump's tweet, and he indicated that Mr. Trump had privately foreshadowed his plans for January 6th, writing, quote, "Wow, based on 3 days ago, I think we have unique understanding of this," end quote. Part C, Mr. Trump's misuse of official power through the Justice Department. As his efforts to directly pressure state officials to discount legitimate votes failed, and the fraudulent elector plan unfolded, Mr. Trump also tried another tack. He attempted to wield federal power to perpetuate his fraud claims and retain his office. Mr. Trump was frustrated with the Justice Department because its criminal investigations had identified no evidence of substantial fraud. And the Attorney General, again, his Justice Department. So I just want to throw that out there. His Justice Department found no evidence of substantial voter fraud. Just throwing that out there. And the Attorney General had publicly acknowledged this fact in an interview on December 1st by saying, among other things, quote, "To date, we have not seen fraud on a scale that could have affected a different outcome in the election," end quote. As a result, Mr. Trump considered appointing co-conspirator 4, a Justice Department attorney who worked on civil matters, to be the acting Attorney General, because as described below, co-conspirator 4 was willing to use the Justice Department to spread Mr. Trump's lies and pressure targeted states to overturn election results. So what he did is he was going to take Jeffrey Clark and get rid of the acting Attorney General and put in Jeffrey Clark because the acting Attorney General found no evidence of this fraud. Okay? I just want to throw that out there for everybody. All right? Where am I? Throughout the post-election period, Justice Department officials reviewed Mr. Trump's claims of election fraud, found no support for any of them, and informed him of such. In one such discussion, when the acting Attorney General advised Mr. Trump that the Justice Department could not just snap its fingers and change the election outcome, Mr. Trump told the acting Attorney General and acting Deputy Attorney General that they should, quote, "just say that the election was corrupt and leave the rest to me and the Republican congressman," end quote. In the same call, alluding to replacing Justice Department leadership if they did not do as he directed, Mr. Trump also said, quote, "people tell me co-conspirator 4, this is Jeffrey Clark, is great. I should put him in." Mr. Trump knew about co-conspirator 4 because he had been introduced to co-conspirator 4 by a member of Congress and had been secretly engaging with co-conspirator 4, who was communicating with Mr. Trump in contravention of policies designed to protect the independence of the Justice Department. On December 28, as his secret communication with Mr. Trump continued, co-conspirator 4 emailed the acting Attorney General and acting Deputy Attorney General a proposed letter that falsely claimed that the Justice Department had identified significant concerns that may have impacted the outcome of the election in multiple states, and recommended that those state legislatures convene in special session to reconsider certification of their electoral votes. Co-conspirator 4 proposed to, quote, "send it to the governor, speaker, and president pro temp of each relevant state to indicate that in light of time urgency and sworn evidence of election irregularities presented to courts and to legislative committees, the legislatures thereof should each assemble and make a decision about elector appointment in light of their deliberations." Within about an hour of receiving the draft letter, the acting deputy attorney general pointedly rejected co-conspirator 4's proposal, writing, quote, "I know of nothing that would support the statement. We have identified significant concerns that may have impacted the outcome of the election in multiple states." He also observed that the Justice Department had no role in states' administration of their own elections, writing, "I cannot imagine a scenario in which the department would recommend that a state assemble its legislature to determine whether already certified election results should somehow be overridden by legislative action." Nonetheless, Mr. Trump continued to circumvent Justice Department leadership and engage directly with co-conspirator 4. With Mr. Trump's intervention, co-conspirator 4 obtained a highly classified briefing on foreign interference in the 2020 election on January 2nd, 2021. A briefing that yielded nothing to support the conspirators' allegations, as demonstrated by contemporaneous electronic messaging between co-conspirator 4 and the same member of Congress who had introduced co-conspirator 4 to Mr. Trump. Yet the following day, Mr. Trump attempted to install co-conspirator 4 as the acting attorney general. On January 3rd, after Mr. Trump offered the position to co-conspirator 4, and co-conspirator 4 informed Justice Department senior leadership that he was accepting it, Mr. Trump, co-conspirator 4, and senior officials from the Justice Department and White House counsel's office gathered for a hastily scheduled meeting in the Oval Office. Mr. Trump made clear that he wanted to appoint co-conspirator 4 because co-conspirator 4 would cause the Justice Department to send to the targeted states the false letter that the acting attorney general and the acting deputy attorney general had rejected as inaccurate and improper. Mr. Trump ultimately did not do so, only because he was informed that if he did, mass resignations within the Justice Department and the White House would result in co-conspirator 4 leading a graveyard. Near the end of the meeting, when co-conspirator 4 raised the idea of the Justice Department operating on the vice president's role during the congressional certification, Mr. Trump told all those assembled that no one other than him should be talking to the vice president. Okay. Here comes some of the big shit. Part D. Mr. Trump's pressure on the vice president. Mr. Trump wanted no one else speaking with Vice President Pence because he and co-conspirators were already implementing a secret plan to use Mr. Pence's ministerial role as president of the Senate to Mr. Trump's advantage. Co-conspirator 2, with assistance from co-conspirator 5 and 6, spearheaded the execution of a strategy, which co-conspirator 2 had recently conceded was not supported by the Constitution or federal law. For Mr. Pence to decline to count the legitimate electoral certificates in the targeted states where Mr. Trump's electors had signed fraudulent ones. In the weeks before the certification, Mr. Trump began pressuring Mr. Pence to cooperate, both directly and by mobilizing Mr. Trump's supporters. In repeated conversations, day after day, Mr. Trump pressed Mr. Pence to use his ministerial position as president of the Senate to change the election outcome, often by citing false claims of election fraud as justification. He even falsely told Mr. Pence that the, quote, Justice Department was finding major infractions, end quote. When Mr. Pence repeatedly refused to act as Mr. Trump wanted, Mr. Trump told him that hundreds of thousands of people would hate his guts and think he was stupid, and that Mr. Pence was too honest. Surrounding these communications, Mr. Trump frequently took to Twitter to exhort supporters to travel to Washington for January 6th. Such as when he tweeted on January 1, the big protest rally in Washington, D.C. will take place at 11 a.m. on January 6th. Locational details to follow. Stop the steal. Now, the reason why we know a lot of this is Mike Pence kept detailed journals of all of his meetings with Trump. He kept detailed journals of most everything, which a lot of politicians do. But he kept detailed notes of all his meetings, of all his conversations. And we have those notes. That's part of how we know about this. It's also been corroborated by witness statements and a bunch of other stuff. On January 4, 2 days before the certification proceedings, Mr. Trump arranged for Mr. Pence to meet with co-conspirator 2 in the Oval Office. Remember, co-conspirator 2 is John Eastman, Trump's former lawyer. In hopes that co-conspirator 2 could convince Mike Pence to accede. During the meeting, co-conspirator 2 outlined 2 ways that he claimed Mr. Pence could affect the election outcome using his role in the certification. He could reject the legitimate electors outright, denying Mr. Biden an electoral majority and likely sending the selection of the president to the House of Representatives, where fellow Republicans controlled the majority of state delegations. Or he could send the elector slates to targeted states, legislatures, for them to choose which electoral votes should be counted, affording Republican-controlled legislatures the opportunity to reject Mr. Biden's electors and replace them with Mr. Trump's. In response to Mr. Pence's questioning, Co-Conspirator 2 admitted that both proposals violated the ECA and were untested. So they knew that both of these things violated federal law. Just throwing that out there. When Mr. Pence turned to Mr. Trump and pointed out that even Mr. Trump's lawyer, Co-Conspirator 2, did not think Mr. Pence had the authority to return electoral votes to the state, Mr. Trump responded that he liked the other thing better, which Mr. Pence understood to mean Mr. Pence simply rejecting the electoral votes outright. In the end, Mr. Pence again stated that he did not believe he could do what he was being asked. That night, Mr. Trump used a speech in Dalton, Georgia, to focus the crowd on the idea that Mr. Pence could change the results of the election, saying, quote, "I hope Mike Pence comes through for us. I have to tell you, I hope that our great vice president comes through for us. Of course, if he doesn't come through, I won't like him quite as much." End quote. The next day, on January 5, when Mr. Trump again failed to make headway with Mr. Pence in a private conversation, Mr. Trump warned that he would have to publicly criticize Mr. Pence. Mr. Trump then, in response to a New York Times report on the conversation between Mr. Trump and Mr. Pence, issued a false statement claiming, quote, "The vice president and I are in total agreement that the vice president has the power to act." Part E, Mr. Trump's supporters attack the United States Capitol. Mr. Trump's efforts to remain in power converged and culminated on January 6th, the day that Mr. Biden was to be certified president. That day, Mr. Trump was scheduled to speak at the ellipse to the crowd of supporters he had summoned to Washington with false claims of election fraud. At around 1 a.m. on the morning of January 6th, Mr. Trump tweeted, quote, "If Vice President Mike Pence comes through for us, we will win the presidency. Many states want to decertify the mistake they made in certifying incorrect or even fraudulent numbers in a process not approved by their state legislatures, which it must be. Mike can send it back." End quote. Just a reminder, everything Trump said in that tweet is incorrect. There are absolutely no correct statements in this tweet. Just before he left the White House to give his speech at the ellipse, Mr. Trump phoned Mr. Pence one last time. When Mr. Pence told Mr. Trump that he planned to issue a public statement making clear that he lacked the authority to do what Mr. Trump wanted, Mr. Trump expressed anger at him. He then directed staffers to reinsert into his planned ellipse speech some language that he had drafted earlier, targeting Mr. Pence. During a speech at the ellipse, Mr. Trump made one more attempt to retain power. In his remarks, Mr. Trump repeated many of the same lies he had been telling for months regarding dead voters, non-citizen voters, and vote dumps. And he told newer ones, lies that targeted states wanted to change their electors and that Mr. Pence had the authority and might be persuaded to change the election results. The lie regarding Mr. Pence was particularly deceptive because Mr. Trump knew what his supporters in the crowd did not, that Mr. Pence had just told him in no uncertain terms that he would not do what Mr. Trump was demanding. So Mike Pence had already told Trump no. Trump didn't care. He, even after being told no by Mike Pence, still decided, I'm going to tell the people that are at this rally that Mike Pence can do this, and he should do this, and that he's going to do this, and that he's our last chance. None of which is accurate. As we continue, Mr. Trump told the crowd, a crowd of his supporters that he had remarked to advisors the night before was, quote, angry, that the election had been stolen, and the country would no longer exist if this purported crime were not stopped, and that the discovery of fraud licensed them to, quote, go by very different rules, end quote. Although Mr. Trump at one point also told his supporters to peacefully and patriotically make their voices heard, he used the word fight more than 10 times in the speech before concluding by directing his supporters to march to the Capitol to give allied members of Congress, quote, the kind of pride and boldness they need to take back our country, end quote. He also told the angry crowd that, quote, if you don't fight like hell, you are not going to have a country anymore, end quote. Throughout the speech, Mr. Trump gave his supporters false hope that through such action, they could cause Mr. Pence to overturn the election results, even improvising new lines directed at Mr. Pence as the speech went on. At Mr. Trump's urging, thousands of his supporters marched from the Ellipse to the Capitol building. There, Mike Pence began the certification at around 1 p.m. Outside the building, the crowd swelled and broke through barriers cordoning off the grounds. The crowd that attacked the Capitol was filled with Mr. Trump's supporters, as made clear by their Trump shirts, signs, and flags. As described in detail below, the crowd violently attacked the law enforcement officers attempting to secure the building. These are photographs, so they do have photographs of the incidents. Here's another photograph. Here's another photograph. Damn, this was so day of peace, right? Third photograph. And isn't this such a day of peace? Such a day of peace. Here's another one. Day of peace. Day of hope. After his speech, Mr. Trump returned to the White House and, at around 1:30 p.m., settled in the dining room off of the Oval Office. There, he watched television news coverage of events at the Capitol and reviewed Twitter on his phone. When the angry crowd advanced on the Capitol building and breached it around 2:13 p.m., forcing the Senate to recess, several of Mr. Trump's advisors rushed to the dining room and told him that a riot had started at the Capitol and that rioters were in the building. Over the course of the afternoon, they forcefully urged Mr. Trump to issue calming messages to his supporters. Mr. Trump resisted, repeatedly remarking that the people at the Capitol were angry because the election had been stolen. Just before 2:24 p.m., the news channel playing on the television in the dining room where Mr. Trump was sitting aired an interview with an individual marching from the Ellipse to the Capitol, who expressed his anger at Mr. Pence and stated, "But I still believe President Trump has something else left." Then at 2:24 p.m., sitting alone, Mr. Trump issued a tweet attacking Mr. Pence and fueling the riot. Mike Pence didn't have the... So by the way, he knew people were rioting. Okay? When we look at the timeline of events, 2:13, he was informed that the Capitol had been breached. He was watching the news from 1:30 p.m. onward. He knew, and he still issued a tweet at 2:24 that said Mike Pence didn't have the courage to do what should have been done to protect our country and our Constitution, giving states a chance to certify a corrected set of facts, not the fraudulent or inaccurate ones, which they were asked to previously certify. USA demands truth. 1 minute later, the United States Secret Service was forced to evacuate Mr. Pence to a secure location at the Capitol. When an advisor at the White House learned this, he rushed to the dining room and informed Mr. Trump, who replied, "So what?" The rioters at the Capitol had been motivated and directed by Mr. Trump, and he continued to resist advisors' requests to direct them to leave. Throughout the afternoon, crowds at the Capitol hunted for Mr. Pence and other lawmakers, with some chanting, "Hang Mike Pence." At 2:38 p.m. and 3:30 p.m., Trump issued 2 tweets falsely suggesting that events at the Capitol were peaceful and asked individuals there, whom he termed "we," to remain that way. "Please support our Capitol Police and law enforcement. They are truly on the side of our country. Stay peaceful. And I am asking for everyone at the U.S. Capitol to remain peaceful. No violence. Remember, we are the party of law and order. Respect the law and our great men and women in blue. Thank you." He already knew that there was violence. He knew for almost an hour by the time he tweeted the first tweet. And then another hour passed and he knew there was violence. Not only that there was violence, He knew that people were going after Mike Pence, his own vice president. He knew this. He did not care. At 4:17 p.m., he tweeted a video message in which he, for the first time, asked his supporters to leave the Capitol, while at the same time falsely claiming that we had an election that was stolen from us, a landslide election, and embracing the people who had attacked the Capitol, telling them, "We love you, you're very special." And at 6:01 p.m., he tweeted, "These are the things and events that happen when a sacred landslide election victory is so unceremoniously and viciously stripped away from great patriots who have been badly and unfairly treated for so long. Go home with love and in peace. Remember this day forever." It took him almost 3 hours. It took him almost 3 hours to tell people to go home. He knew people were at the Capitol. He knew people were rioting. He knew that Mike Pence was being targeted. He knew that all of the evidence he had for election fraud was false. Didn't matter. At around the same time, he issued a 6:01 p.m. tweet. Mr. Trump tried to reach 2 United States senators, and he also directed co-conspirator 1 to call members of Congress and attempt to enlist them to further delay the certification. When Mr. Trump's White House counsel called him at around 7 p.m. and asked him to withdraw any objections to the certification, Mr. Trump refused. Nonetheless, the certification resumed later in the evening of January 6, and at 3:41 a.m. on January 7, Mr. Pence announced the certified results of the 2020 presidential election in favor of Mr. Biden. As he did in his 4:17 p.m. and 6:01 p.m. tweets on January 6, Mr. Trump has provided additional evidence of his intent by continuing to support and ally himself with the people who attacked the Capitol. He has called them patriots and hostages, reminisced about January 6 as a beautiful day, and championed the January 6 choir, a group of January 6 defendants who, because of their dangerousness, are detained at the District of Columbia jail. So those are the events. Those are the events. So when I tell you that Donald Trump tried to overthrow a U.S. election, this is how he tried to do it. Any contentions? Is there anybody who learned some things they didn't know before? Oh shit, Frenemies is here.
Frenemies is here. We're reliving the good old Trump days.
Oh my god.
Only 5 days to go, guys. We miss it too. It's okay.
You still believe that after everything I just read?
An over dramatized tour of the Capitol. Yeah, I think it's over dramatized.
You're annoying.
Fine.
No, Alina, you're muted, so we can't hear what you're saying. And when you unmute, we also can't hear what you're saying. Did you hear any of what I actually read? Frenemies?
No, I was for a good minute, yeah.
Okay,
How did
so
I managed to kill my new AirPods within 2 weeks?
oh shit.
Oh well.
The next section, we're not going to read it, but the next section is just literally pointing to all the laws that were broken. So it's literally like, these are the laws. So it's, what was it? Conspiracy to defraud the United States. It was, what are the other ones? It just goes over the specific laws and how each action that Trump and his co-conspirators took broke those laws. So this is what I'm talking about.
Check
I see
Cash
my
App.
Cash App. $7 for justice and coffee for Katie. Okay. Y'all know you can just send Katie money directly. Like, why do I have to be the middleman? All right. What else do we want to do today?
What other Trump moments should we relive? Good
None,
economy,
preferably.
good job market, good foreign policy, good national security.
I can't do frenemies trolling today, bro. I really can't. I can't do the trolling today, deadass. I don't have the mental fortitude. After I just read all that shit.
Hey, why'd you drop? He's our only op.
Because he annoys the shit out of me. I'd rather no ops than an annoying one. Like, how you gonna listen to everything I just said and be like, nah, he's still great?
I don't think he actually listened to it.
Probably not. Okay. Should I make a YouTube video over this? Should I like go through and read this again, but like record it and like edit a YouTube video to like do an easy understanding of this? I can work on that tonight. It will take a little bit, but I can do that.
You should do it between the hours of 3 and 7.
What happens between 3 and 7?
So you don't encroach on my time frame.
I wouldn't be live.
That's what I mean.
Oh, so that I'm not live when you're. I won't be doing an evening live today, so you're good.
Okay.
My evening live is gonna. If I do an evening live, I don't do an evening live the next day. I alternate. Hello, are you here to debate?
Yeah, bro. What's up?
Chillin'. What's your name, age, and pronouns?
My name's Ryan, bro. I don't have pronouns, but I'm a Audi Quattro 1984 in chat, man.
Sorry. Can you?
How's your day going?
Can you repeat that? You said you what? You don't have pronouns? Oh, that's what I thought. I was ready for it. Y'all saw me whip out the whiteboard and everything. Hello, are you here to debate?
Hello?
Yeah, what's up? You here to debate?
Yeah.
Okay. What's your name, age, and pronouns?
My name's Graham, 32, and I'm a male. What is yours?
Male is not a pronoun. What are your pronouns?
I'm just male.
You go by male?
I don't do all the other pronouns.
So you use neopronouns?
I'm a guy. Huh? I'm a guy.
Okay.
Whatever
so
that
what do
means
you
to anybody
prefer
else.
What do you prefer to be called, friend?
Graham, my name. I don't go by
When someone-
pronouns.
Yes,
I
you
go
do.
by my name.
Yes, you do. So every time someone says he when referring to you, you get pissed off? They say, don't call me he, call me my name.
Do I get mad?
Yeah.
No. I just generally don't. If somebody wants to call me, they just say my name.
Okay.
They can tell by looking at me if I'm a male or female. I'm male.
How come none of you guys know how pronouns work? Is it just, did we skip that section of
I just
elementary
don't
school?
care enough. I think they're exaggerated where everyone thinks that you have to be called they, them, he, she, whatever. I am male. He. Whatever you want to say. It doesn't matter.
He. So you do use pronouns. You use he.
Yeah, but I don't think that they should be used like you guys want them used.
How do we want them used? How specifically do we want them used?
Okay, anyways, let's get past this
Well,
point.
no. How do we want them? How do we want them used?
I wanted to call. No, I don't care about this part.
I do.
You can
though.
do.
I do though. How do we want them used?
He.
Sure.
I
Fine. Totally fine. How do we want them used?
No, that's not why I called. There's
I
so much more
understand,
to
but
talk
you
about.
said
Let's
that.
keep going.
I
Okay,
get
it doesn't
that.
matter.
I get that.
Let's
But you
avoid that point. I don't care.
specifically
You can do
said.
whatever you want. Call me a she,
You
I guess. I don't care.
specifically said. I don't
Let's
want to
talk
call
about
you
some
she. I
other
want to
stuff.
call you whatever pronouns are the ones you use. But you specifically said
I just
you
said
don't
he.
use
I
them the
literally
way
just said
we
he. I answered
do.
the question. Let's move on. Let's move on. So you're saying that the Christian God is evil,
Uh-huh.
right? You think the Christian God is evil?
Yes.
Why is that?
Because he does evil things.
Okay, so before I guess we dive into that, do you believe that there is objective morality?
No.
You don't. So okay, I guess so. Where do you find the foundation to call something evil?
Well, if we're talking about the Christian God, I would go based on his own standards, based on the rules he sets
Okay, and
forth,
what is
and what
that?
he calls evil.
Okay. So define it. I guess get into a little bit more detail of what you mean by his standards.
Define evil?
Yeah. Okay. Well, you're using the word. You're calling him evil. So I guess dive into it so I can kind of break down what you're saying.
Yeah, sure.
What your meaning behind
I'll
the Christian God is evil.
I'll say what I believe evil to be under a Christian God framework. Evil.
No. Like the reason why you're calling him evil. Don't use a Christian framework. The reason why, because you don't believe you're not.
I just
Christian.
told you. I just
So
told you that my reason for calling him evil would be because he acts evil under his own framework of what evil is.
But you okay? So have you read the Bible? Have you read like what percentage of the
Yes.
Bible have you read, and how much
Read
of it
most
have
of
you
it.
just been lied to about? I guess.
I've read most of the Bible.
So most of it, like most of the Old Testament, most of the New Testament, most
of the entirety
both
of the
them,
book.
or what?
I've read the whole book at least once.
The book, as in the entirety
As in
of the Bible.
The entirety of the Bible, yes.
Okay, well, okay, so that was confusing because you said most of it. Now you're saying all. Read it. Did you actually understand? Like, did you study
Yep.
it though? Is another question because I
promise
can
you I
read something and
understood
not understand the concept of what is actually being taught.
Well, sure. Let's get into the evil things God has done, and we'll see. We'll see
Yeah,
if God is
let's get
truly
into that.
evil. Great. Do you know who Job is?
I do know Job. That's a fantastic book. Let's talk about it.
Wonderful. Here's Job. I just drew Job. Who is Job?
You're asking me who is Job?
Yep.
A man favored by God.
A man favored. And why was Job favored?
What do you mean? Why was he favored? Because he was a righteous man.
He was
So
a
he was
righteous
favored by
man.
God.
He was God's A1 day one soldier, right? Did
Dude,
everything,
he was
did everything,
magnificent.
did everything God wanted, and then some. He was a wonderful man,
Uh-huh.
that Job.
Yep.
What happened to Job?
Like, what did Satan do to Job?
True, Satan plays a part in this story, right? Satan showed up and saw
Yeah, Satan
Job.
does.
Here, I'll draw Satan. I'll even make sure his horns are red so that we all know that this is Satan right here. Here's Satan.
Uh-huh.
So Satan shows up, right? I give him a little smile because I think Satan's probably happy all the time. Satan shows up and sees Job and says, I don't like this. God, he calls. He says, God, here's God right over here. We'll know that this is God because he's got a sour face and a halo. He says, God, I think Job only follows you because you give him so much good stuff. You gave Job a house. You gave Job a flock of sheep and crops. You gave Job a wife. Here's his wife, big old titties on his wife. And you gave Job kids. And because he has all these things, he's a happy man and he worships you. I don't think he would do this if you got rid of all this stuff. I don't think he would still worship you. And then what did God say in response to Satan?
What did God say to Satan?
Yeah, in response to Satan saying all of this, what did God say?
Okay, so I don't have it open in front of me. I do know the book. I've read it multiple times, but it was something along the lines of like, you can pretty much do, such and such, but don't do this. You don't do, like, leave something else alone. I can't remember exactly. I'd have to open it up.
100% correct. He said, all right, bet. He said, you can do anything you want to Job's home, You can do
But
anything
it was like,
you
don't
want
kill
to
him or
Job's
something like that.
flocks. You can do anything you want to Job's wife and kids. You cannot harm Job. Job exists in a bubble. You can't touch Job. You can do whatever you want to anybody else. He said, and he said, I guarantee you, I bet you that at the end of this, Job will still worship me. Satan said, okay. Satan burnt down Job's home, lit it on fire. He axed his crops and his sheep, and he killed his wife and kids. I know some people argue that he didn't kill his wife. I'm pretty sure he killed his wife, but if it's just his kids, then whatever.
He didn't actually kill his wife. That is not true. His wife was still there, so he did not. Currently, in the time that you're right, he did not kill the wife.
Great. He killed his kids. Here's a new picture of the wife, Tiggle Bitties. Killed his kids. At the end of it, Job was suffering. Job said, I'm sad because I lost my home. I'm sad because I lost my flock. I'm absolutely torn up because my children are dead. But what did Job still do?
He still praised God. He still gave glory to God.
Praised
God. He
God.
Still gave the deserved glory to God. I'm sorry, I misquoted myself.
He still praised this guy. Now, I have a question
100%.
for you. Based on the Bible, is God all-knowing?
Is he all-knowing?
Yeah, does he know all?
Yes, yeah, 100%. He is all-knowing, yes,
right.
Without a doubt.
Is God all-seeing? Does he see all at all times?
Well, yeah, that would be the same thing as all-knowing, yes.
Okay.
Yep, all
so
omniscient,
God,
omnipresent, all, all those, yes.
Beautiful. You're absolutely correct. God is all-knowing. God is all-seeing. He knows all at all times. He sees all at all times. Did you think I was
correct?
Huh? No, I said you were correct.
You said I was correct. So you're saying that God is all of these things?
Yeah.
You're agreeing to this, that he is these things?
Based on the Bible, yes. God is all-knowing, all-seeing, and all-powerful.
Oh, just based on the Bible. Okay. All right.
So, God knew beyond a shadow of a doubt, had zero doubt in his mind, because he can essentially see the future, that if Satan did all of these things, Job would still worship and favor God.
100%.
Why'd he let Satan do it?
Maybe it was, I mean, I'm not God, so I don't know 100% of the reason why he did it, but I mean, it could have been just a smack in the face of Satan. I mean, he knew God can do whatever he wants for any reason he wants. Like the morality behind it doesn't necessarily mean, or doesn't.
Hold on, friend. I have a really quick question. Did Satan know God?
Does Satan know God?
Yeah, does Satan know God?
Well, yeah, he knows God.
So Satan
knows. He wants to be God.
Satan knows that God is all-knowing and all-seeing.
Well, I mean, I would have to assume so, but there's so much pride involved with Satan that even though he might believe that, he also believes that he is much better than God.
Okay.
So he might think that maybe God could slip in some kind of way.
Here's
because of pride. His pride blinds him.
Satan. Where did he come from?
Yes.
Where did he come from?
He was created by God.
And God knows and sees all at all times.
100%. But
so
you also got to understand, like the way that you're trying to depict knows
hold on.
All at one time. Like God is outside of time.
Yes, so he knows all before it happens. He knows everything that will be, was, and is yet to come.
Yes.
So he knew before he even created Satan that when he creates Satan, Satan will in turn destroy Job's home, kill Job's flocks, and kill Job's kids. God knew this would happen the minute he created Satan. He knew this would happen before he created Satan.
Yes.
Yet he still did it. Even though Job did everything God has ever asked of us to do as his
Can I interrupt for 1 second? Can I interrupt real quick?
You can try, yeah.
In the Bible, what do you think is depicted to be of more value? The human body, this earthly, the earthly physical body that you dwell in right now, or your spiritual soul? Which one do you think the Bible attributes more value to?
I would assume the Bible attributes more value to the soul.
100%. Thank you. Yes,
So
it
it's
attributes
okay.
far more. I mean,
It's
eternally
okay if
more
God
value
kills your
to the soul.
kids.
So it doesn't matter what happens
it.
in this life. There's going to be a lot of bad things that happens in
Got
this
it.
life. The Bible tells you right now, it doesn't matter if you give your life to God, you are going to still face suffering. I mean, in the Bible, it literally says
Those-
it rains on the just and the unjust.
Those
Hold on,
bad
I let you
things were
talk. Let me talk
committed
for a
by
second.
God, though.
The Bible, oh my God, can you stop real quick? The Bible
Sure.
tells you that it rains on the just and the unjust. So no matter what happens to you in this life, whether God knows about it or not, he knows that there's going to be some people that choose him, and it doesn't matter what Satan tries to do. If you are literally facing God at all times, it doesn't matter what happens in this life, your eternal soul will dwell with God.
So we
And that is
shouldn't
far
be
more
upset.
valuable than any pain and suffering you go through in this life.
So even if
And guess
the
what?
pain
At the
and
end of the story,
suffering,
what happens? Because I feel like everyone leaves that part out.
you tell me.
He only magnifies all of his riches and everything for not giving up on God.
Hey, how does he magnify his dead kids?
Maybe he had more kids. His kids are in heaven.
So let me just
His
confirm.
kids are, and Job
Let me
knows
just
his
confirm
kids are in
something.
heaven, living a better life than they would have ever lived on
Let me
earth.
confirm something for you.
And literally,
Wait, let
Job
me confirm
was
something.
speaking
Hold
to
on.
God.
I want to confirm something from you. I want to confirm something.
Yep.
It's okay if I kill 3 of your kids as long as you eventually have 4 more kids.
Well, God didn't kill his kids. Satan killed his kids.
Who created Satan?
God did. But
And
you
when
got
God
to also
created,
understand.
hold on, stop.
Okay,
hold on, stop. Hold on,
You're
hold on, hold
thinking
on, hold
through
on.
a
I'm not done.
finite
Hold
mind.
on, hold on, hold
Go
on.
ahead. I'll let
When
you talk. Go
God
ahead.
created,
Yep, go ahead.
when God created Satan, did God know Satan was going to eventually kill Job's kids?
Yes.
Then God killed Job's kids.
No.
Yes. Yes.
Okay, so here's the thing. Here is the thing about what you're trying to, how you perceive. But do you understand the concept of free will?
Free will doesn't exist under a paradigm of God. If God exists and
Okay,
knows
well,
all and sees all, then
you were
free will
willing
cannot exist.
you were willing to look at this through the Christian lens before. Let's continue to do so.
I am. If God knows
Okay,
all and sees
so-
all, free will cannot exist. It's
Yep,
an
he does.
impossibility.
He does, but you still have free will. Like I had free will to make this call. You had free will to answer this call.
No, you
correct?
didn't. You were
Nobody
always going
forced
to.
you. Nobody.
It was
wasn't
decided that you would
necessarily
make this call.
predetermined. You
Yes,
still
it-
have the
yes, it would
ability
be.
to do what you want. You
No,
have
it
you
was
are a
decided
free
that you
thinker.
would
You
make
can
this.
do what you
hold-
want.
Friend, it was decided you would make this call thousands of years ago.
No, it
You
wasn't.
didn't have free. Yes,
No,
it was. Does
it was
God know
not
and see
decided.
all? If God knows and sees all, it was
He
decided.
knows. He knows what's going to happen, but it is not predetermined.
That's what knowing.
Necessarily.
If you
Like,
know what
it is
is
still
going to
my
happen,
free
it is
will to do
predetermined.
so.
No, if you know something is
I still have free
100%
will.
going to
I
happen,
can
that's
jump up and
predetermined.
down. I can do whatever
You
I
don't.
want. I'm
I
a
don't
free
think you
thinker. I
understand
can
what
do
predetermined
what
means.
I want.
I don't think you understand what predetermined means. But let's find out if we have free will. Let's find out if we
Predetermined?
have free will. Quick question for you: does evil exist?
Well, hold on. Let's continue this argument for a
Well,
second,
we
and
are.
we'll get into the evil.
This is how we're going to continue this argument. Does evil exist?
Well, why do we have to continue that way? I was in the middle of saying something before you asked me another question.
Because I'm going to prove to you that free will doesn't exist.
Free will. You have free will to do. Actually, you cut me off, and now I lost my train of thought. Damn it.
Cool. Does evil exist?
Okay, go on to your question. I'll think about it later.
Yeah,
It'll
no
come
problem.
back to me. Go ahead.
problem.
Go with the evil.
Does evil exist?
Yes, evil
Okay.
does exist.
Can God prevent evil?
Could he prevent? Yes, but at the same time, you have to understand if you're looking at things through a Christian lens, God already has a plan.
Okay,
So
no
could
problem.
he prevent it? Yes. Has
Yes,
he
he could
prevented a
prevent
lot of stuff already? Yes. Is he going to prevent all of it? Not necessarily.
No problem. No problem. I
Does
just
he
need to know that he
intervene on a
could.
lot of things? Trust me, there's a lot of stories that show God will prevent some evil. But
I just
with
need
his
to know that he
plan,
could prevent it.
What?
I just need to know that he has the ability to prevent it if he wanted to.
If it was within his will, yes.
Okay. Does God know about all evil?
Yeah, there's nothing that happens that God doesn't know about, correct?
Yes, he does. Beautiful. Does God want to prevent evil?
Well, here's the thing. That's what I'm saying. God already has a plan. There is a will of God. So if things are going to happen according to his will.
Great. So things
So
are
what is
predetermined.
there a plan? Well, here's the thing that it's hard to, you're trying to minimize the aspect of what he's preventable or what he's trying to prevent. There is a plan in course that is literally taking course as we speak. Ultimately, God will abolish all evil. That is the whole
But he hasn't.
recreation of the new heaven and the new earth. So yes, there is going to be a day where God abolishes all evil. Once his plan has concluded.
Why did he do it to begin with?
Is he going to prevent all of that right now at this very second? No, his plan is in action.
Great. So let's say no, he does not want to prevent all evil. He does not want to do that. If this is the case, then God
can't prevent all evil and still give you free will.
Oh, really? So the reason why he
Correct. He can't prevent all evil and still give you free will. I can run outside and go kill my neighbors. I have free will. I could do that. Am I going to do that? No.
Let me ask you a question.
Is God necessarily going to prevent me? Most likely not. Could he intervene? Yes, he could.
Sure. Is God all powerful? Is he
100% all powerful?
Okay. Could he have created a universe in which free will exists, but there is no evil?
Okay, so he did create a good world. He called it good, but with the free will, you run the chance of evil coming about.
Could God have created a universe in which evil cannot exist, but we can still have free will?
I mean, God could do what he wants. Maybe is that really considered free will because you're minusing out the possibility of evil?
Yes, there would still be free will.
You're taking it out.
There would still be free will because he's making a
universe. But you wouldn't have the free will to do it.
So God can't create a universe in which we still have free will and there is no evil.
I just think you're trying to use logically contradictory. You're trying to take something out, and that's not technically free will because you don't have the free will to do it.
So there is no free will, and so he can't create a universe in which there's free will but no evil. This is something he cannot do. Because if he did, free will wouldn't exist.
He did, because once he creates the new heaven and the new earth, that's what it will be.
But he has not done this. So by the way, in the new heaven and new earth, there will be free will, but no evil.
Correct.
But you said that there's no free will if evil doesn't exist.
Annihilated. There will be no more evil. You will not have a fleshly desire. You will not have the temptation from Satan, the evil temptation.
So then how do we have free will? Then how do we have free will?
No, because you already made the choice. At this point, you have already made your choice.
Yeah, so again, just confirming, you're saying that he will create a universe in which we have free will, but evil does not exist.
But with all the people that have already made the choice to not do the evil.
So you can't make a choice to do evil after the fact?
From the very beginning, I'm not God. I can't say the way you're trying to define it.
You're telling me when I get to heaven, you're telling me when everybody gets to heaven, they can't commit an evil act now that they're in heaven?
Follow him. He created people that have free will. It's almost like if you call your dog, like, come here, buddy, come here. And then when he has his free will to come over to you, you think, oh, that's love, right? Because he came over to you. But now if you do the exact same thing with a leash on your dog's neck, you call him, he doesn't come to you, but then you start yanking the leash over to yourself. That's not love, right?
You're describing God.
Well, with the leash or without the leash? Because I can tell you right now, I can flip God off, I can curse God all I want. He's not forcing me to love him.
If I have a child, and I tell my child, hey, don't touch this, let's say I have like a Pokemon card, and it's like a holographic Charizard, right? And it's worth a lot of money.
Sure.
It's worth like thousands of dollars. And I tell my child, don't touch this card. And that's it. And he touches the card. I'd say the child did. But if I tell my child, hey, if you touch this Pokemon card, I will literally burn you in fire for all of eternity. And I have the power to do this. And I will do this.
Yep.
And my child listens and doesn't touch the card. Did he listen because he's a good person, or did he listen because I threatened him?
I'm not your child. I have no idea.
Is that a joke?
So you're saying if you have something, it doesn't even have to be a Pokemon, guys. So if you tell your child to do something and he listens to you, but there was repercussions if he didn't listen to you, You're saying that's a problem. How?
There's a difference between repercussions and a threat.
No. There's that repercussion is a threat. Kind of go
Nope.
semi hand in hand in a way.
Some repercussions can just be natural consequences. God choosing to send you to eternal
consequences.
Natural
dude.
consequences is
thing,
God choosing to send you to eternal fire.
Your child.
Wait, what's natural about God choosing to send you to eternal fire?
Okay, let's since how you said that, let's open the door to hell, I guess, right? So I don't look at hell as in the way it's depicted necessarily. Nobody knows for sure what hell is exactly. We have certain depictions of what we visualize it to be, but let's actually call it for what it really actually is.
Well,
so you have heaven, which is eternal. Hold on, don't interrupt, please. We have heaven, which is an eternal residence with the Father, with God, right? And hell is eternal separation from God. That's really what it breaks down to. There is certain depictions, and I'm not saying it's not. I don't know.
I'm not looking at depictions. I'm looking at Jesus' own words when he says that that God will curse those who don't follow him into the eternal fire prepared for the devil and his angels.
Yes, but we don't know necessarily the original translations of what those words actually were.
We don't know what eternal fire means?
Okay, so we say eternal fire, right? But if you go back to the original Hebrew, it might not mean, like, that's our translation. That's our word for it, but it might not be fire necessarily. Like, it could mean destruction, but they use destruction and fire as the same. Because what does fire do?
Do you suffer in hell, yes or no?
Do you suffer?
Yep.
I would assume that it's not, the best of places. But like I said, I want to use my characterization of it.
Why would we? We've been
really
arguing this entire time off of a strict Bible classification. So why would we now be arguing under your
Biblically, that's what it is. Biblically, but there's depictions, but that's not necessarily the point that they're trying to argue.
Does the Bible describe hell as a place in which you suffer?
Eternal separation from God. That's what it is. It is eternal separation from God.
Does the Bible describe hell as a place in which you suffer?
It uses terminology like that, yes. But like I said, this kind of goes back to the original statement that I said earlier. Did you read it or did you study it?
Yeah, it doesn't look like you read it or studied it.
Okay, buddy. I don't know. You're not understanding what the difference is.
9:47-48. Hell is a place of agonizing thirst that can never be quenched. Matthew 13:49-50. It is a place of excruciating.
Okay.
It is a place of excruciating misery where the worm does not die. The Bible very clearly characterizes hell as a bad place where you suffer.
Yes, you suffer because you are separated from your eternal Creator.
So that causes excruciating misery. I'm separated from my Creator now.
Yeah,
why don't I suffer?
That would be English to be separated from God.
I'm separated from my eternal. I am separated currently from my eternal Creator. Why am I not suffering right now?
Yeah, you are severed right now. At the moment,
why am I not suffering? Why am I not suffering?
You're not necessarily separated. You are severed.
Why am I severed and separated are the same thing?
Well, because I'm assuming that you haven't called upon repentance in the name of Jesus Christ.
I'm never going to.
Okay, so right now you're severed. The moment you die, you are separated.
And where will I go?
Currently, you will go to a place called Sheol. It's basically a waiting area. There are no humans currently actually in hell.
There are no humans currently in hell. Have you been there? Do you know for sure?
Yes, as of right now. Yeah, well, biblically, of course. One of us actually studied the scriptures.
Really? Because you don't seem to understand that hell is a furnace of conscious torment where the fire never goes out. What would conscious torment be?
You're not in that area.
Hell is a prison of everlasting chains from which there is no hope of release. It is a lake that burns with fire and sulfur. That's Revelations 21:8.
It could be a depiction.
It is a place of outer darkness where weeping and gnashing of teeth is all that will be heard.
Outer darkness kind of sounds like God is the light and he's not there.
So it's just a place where it's dark?
Sounds like it's a eternal separation from the light. God. Yes, outer darkness.
So,
It's kind of, it's going off to what I'm saying.
I'm supposed to be afraid of hell, and that's supposed to lead me to have faith
No,
in God.
He's
Well,
not.
yes,
He's
you
not
are.
trying to make you afraid of hell.
Yes, he is.
When God had his plan, God had a plan for you to be saved. He sent
God
Jesus
has a
Christ
plan.
down to save you.
So you're telling me everything's
You
predetermined?
have the option to do what is right.
How do I have an
Believe
option if
on
God
Jesus
has a plan?
Christ, he is
If
true.
everything goes according to God's plan, how do I have an option?
God's plan includes you coming to faith.
Except I'm not going
You
to come
have
to
free
faith.
will to decide whether
So
you
then-
want to do this or not.
Wait, so I can break from God's plan? I can do something different from God's plan?
You can do other than God's will, yes.
I can do other than God's will.
Yes, it is God's will that you come to faith.
Interesting. So why didn't he just create a world in which we have free will, but nobody questions him?
Well, because it's a robotic system.
So
God wants true love.
do you think it's
It's the
true
same
love to
concept
tell
of
my
what we just
son?
said earlier about the
Do you think
dog on
it's-
the leash.
do you think it's
If your
true
dog
love?
isn't on a leash and you call it and it comes to
Hey.
you, it's like, oh, this actually
Hey.
could be love. But if you put him on
Hey.
a leash and you call him and you yank him because
Hey.
he's not coming, that's not true love. And
Hey,
that's
do you
what that
think-
system would be.
Hey, do you think it's true love to tell my son that if he doesn't follow my directions, I'm going to burn him specifically in a furnace of conscious torment where the fire never goes out for the rest of his being? Does that sound like love?
So what I think it's important is that you tell your son that there's consequences to his actions. I'm not going to sit there and
So
say
I
that
do
you're
get
going to need to
punished.
steer your son because
So I
I'm
do
going to
get
tell you right
punished
now
for
there
not
isn't no
following
children in hell.
So
Children
God,
are not
so
going to go to
God
hell.
does
There's going to be
punish
age
us.
of
So God does
Huh?
punish us. So God does punish us if we don't
no,
love
no,
him.
no. You punish yourself, buddy. You got to understand that.
I
No,
punished
God doesn't
myself.
send you
Did
to
I
hell. You
create
send yourself.
hell?
You decide that you don't want nothing what
Did I
God's
create
offering,
hell?
so you decide to go the other way, and he says, okay, go the other way. The other
Okay,
way,
cool.
this is what it is.
Cool.
You have a choice to make.
If I create a hole in the ground, and in this hole are alligators with big mouths with big
Let
sharp
me cut you off
teeth.
real quick. I just got a very quick, I'm sorry. I got one question to actually ask you real quick.
Yeah, once I finish with this.
If you knew without a doubt for sure, 100% the Christian God was real as depicted in the Bible, would you believe and follow him?
No, I'd call him evil.
Okay, so what I'm understanding now is that this conversation literally has no point because you don't have a problem in the brain. You have a problem in the heart.
Yeah, just real quick.
Until your heart
if I
changes
create a hole,
and you
this
actually
is just a
see
cop out.
that you are
This
wrong
is a cop out.
about
This is a cop out.
about your
This is a
thoughts
cop
on
out because
Jesus
you can't
and God
handle the
and the Christian
conversation,
Bible.
dog. This is a cop out because you can't handle
Huh?
the conversation.
No,
If I make a hole
no.
in the ground, just let me
You literally
ask
just
you
told
this.
me
I
if
need
you
to ask
knew
you
it
this.
was true, if you
Yeah, I would
knew
call
it
him
was
evil.
true, you still not would believe and follow it. That is not a cop
I would
out.
not. I
That
would
is
not follow him. I
literally
would say
me
he's evil.
not arguing with a fool.
Yeah, I don't follow evil people. So why would I follow him? If I
He's
put a
not
hole in the
evil.
ground, let's find out.
Where do you even
wait,
hear
let's
morality?
find out.
Where do you get evil from?
Let's
The only
find
way you
out.
get evil
Let's
is
find
literally
out.
if
Let's
you copy
find
the
out.
Christian Bible.
Let's find out. If I make a hole in the ground and fill it with alligators, and and you are standing on a platform, and that platform will fall, but I tell you, if you love me, after 100 years, I'll pull you off of this platform. But if you don't love me, you're going to fall into the pit. Are you responsible for falling into the pit? Or am I responsible for putting you in a position in which you will fall into the pit unless you love me?
I'm sorry, I honestly didn't follow that. So if you're standing on a platform surrounded by alligators for 100 years, you said?
I have a platform. You have to live on this platform for 100 years. At the end of that 100-year period, this platform will fall. But I tell you, if you truly in your heart love and follow me, at the end of that 100 years, I will pull you off the platform. Now, I created the pit with the alligators. I created the platform. I even put you on the platform. Are you going to be responsible for falling into that pit when you fall? Or am I responsible for you falling in the pit? Because I
I
created
don't
the
think
pit.
this is a
I
good
created the
analogy.
platform.
I
It's an
really,
exact. It's a
I'm
direct
sorry.
analogy.
I think that analogy
It's a
is really
direct
flippant.
analogy.
Maybe I'll give
It's
you
a
a chance to
direct
do another one.
analogy. This is a direct analogy. The
The
platform is
analogy
human
was
life.
actually
The
really bad.
platform is
That
no.
was a
Let's go
terrible
over.
analogy.
Let's go over how it's a perfect analogy. The platform is human life.
No,
This
actually,
platform
like you've
exists for
already
100
told me
years.
what I
It's
need to
human life.
know.
It's
I'm
human
not going
life.
to be able to
The
convince
pit
you
is
on this
hell.
point because
The
you've already
pit is
told me
hell.
that you will, even if it was true, you
I am
wouldn't believe
God.
it. There's no
I am
point to
God.
argue
I
that.
created the pit. I created the platform, which is human life. I put you on the platform, which is you living human life. I told you if you love me, I will take you and ascend you to heaven, which is
Let's talk
removing you
about
from the
pro-life.
pit.
Let's talk about the pro-life, pro-choice.
Bro, running
Let's talk
from the
about that.
argument is
Because honestly,
crazy.
like I said, you've
Anyway,
already.
if you're just going to run from it, bye. Anyway, God's evil. Would you agree, Kiara?
Yes. Also, if you don't love me, I'm going to cut every single limb off of you. So
Crazy, right?
crazy.
Hello, are you here to debate?
I am. I want to continue the debate.
Oh, is this you again? Bye. You don't want to continue the debate. You wanted to talk about fucking pro-choice. Ain't no way.
Him again?
Yeah.
Bro.
Bro, shut up. Anyway, I love the whiteboard so fucking much, dude. It makes this so much better. This isn't him. Oh, but they hung up. Christians have Stockholm syndrome. Agreed. Listen, all Christians have to do legitimately to reconcile with these problems of God and evil is just say God is not all knowing and all seeing. Or he could be all seeing, but he can't be all knowing. If you say time is linear and God exists at the beginning of time, and then God created the universe and can only watch what happens in the universe, all of a sudden, everything in the Bible, God stops being, for the most part, evil in the Bible. Because he doesn't know what Job is going to do. I still think it's kind of fucked up to like prove a point to let Satan fuck up Job's life, but God wouldn't know what Job is going to choose. God doesn't know what paths we're going to take, and that's why he allows us free will. But the minute you say that he is all-knowing and all-seeing, free will goes out the door. Time, like the future can't be predetermined and also give us free will. It just doesn't work that way. I don't think the Bible ever actually specifically says that God is all-knowing. I think it does, though. Yeah. It says I Samuel 2:3. God is called the God of knowledge. Genesis 22:14. God is called the Lord who sees. I would think these imply that he's all-knowing. Whenever our heart condemns us, for God is greater than our hearts, and he knows everything. Yeah, I think this implies that he's all-knowing and all-seeing. At least the implication. I think my favorite depiction of God is like, if you've seen Miracle Worker, I think that's my favorite depiction of God. All right. That being said, that's the end of morning stream today. I won't be live tonight, but I will be live tomorrow morning for more morning stream. Do we think I should move morning stream to 10 a.m.?
I mean, it kind of depends on TikTok, because obviously if TikTok goes away, then I won't be here anymore. then it doesn't matter.
Well, I would still be doing the morning show.
I know, but so that's my opinion would change.
Oh, okay, I get it. We'll find out. I don't think the Supreme Court's announced their decision yet.
Yeah.
Yeah, it'll happen today. I just don't know when. Thank you guys for being here, Kiara. Thank you for showing up. Hopefully next time you come, we can debate together, Kiara. But I can't pull up the whiteboard. The minute the whiteboard comes out, it all goes downhill.
No one, nothing else exists.
No, it's just it's just me and the whiteboard.
How do you get the TikTok like guest to show up on Twitch?
I have to I'm screen recording one of my screens, and then I just trim it to get rid of the background. We'll talk. We can do like a Discord call, and I can show you everything.
Okay.
All right, guys. Thank you for watching the stream. Alina, do you have any final words?
Get a heated blanket. Adopt a cat, preferably one of the ones that I have. And long live Chairman Mao.
All right, everybody. We will see you guys tomorrow for more morning stream. Bye.